Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. It's Sunday night. It's about 7:30 or so. I'm recording this. Been doing a lot of research, but we'll take a look at first at Bitcoin, see what's going on there. We'll also take a look at the miners, see how they compared to Bitcoin this week. And it wasn't a good week for the miners or Bitcoin, so we'll get into that. And then I spent at least 3-4 hours doing a bunch of research on Soluna, I believe it's called. So we'll do a deep dive on them, under or overvalued. We'll take a look at it. Couple questions for you guys once we get into it. I couldn't find a lot of information as far as what miners they have. So there are some assumptions, some best guess estimates, I guess you could say, on it. But we'll get into all that as always. And as always, not financial advice. You guys know the drill here. I'm investing following coins and companies, and this is for entertainment only. Do your own research as always. All right, so let's take a look at Bitcoin first, and then we'll get into the miners versus Bitcoin as well. So Bitcoin's at 21,448. It has obviously gone somewhat nicely up here. Since it's bottomed out. We look at it here from when it bottomed out just yesterday. We are up about 2.5 or almost 3% on the day, roughly, so not too bad. The other good thing that we're seeing, at least right now that I'm seeing here, is if we look at the RSI going back to here, and then if we go back to here, we can see that the price, at least on the 1 hour chart, has been going up. So that's obviously a good sign as well. So at least we were looking a little bit more bullish now than we were just 12 hours, 14 hours ago or so. So that's a good sign. That leads me to believe that we're going to possibly be going up a little bit more here in price. But that will obviously, we'll have to see how that plays out going forward, as things can obviously change relatively quickly here. But I think this was just we were over leveraged, possibly in Bitcoin going into the weekend, and we had basically a correction happen here on us. On the daily chart, we can still see that we are below, obviously, our support or resistance that we had before at 23,800, which isn't good. If we look at also the 200 weekly moving average, we can see that we fell sharply below it on, when was that? Friday, it looks like that happened. And I'm hoping that we go back above it here. So we've been battling with that 200 weekly moving average, which was kind of our support here for a couple of days here. And then obviously we lost support on it. So I'm hoping to get back above that and have the RSI at least be lower than where it was prior to this. That would be a good sign going forward for us. Ethereum is also up to 1,611 right now. It is basically following suit of Bitcoin right now, and we'll have to keep an eye on that one as well, see what happens. It's still above the 200 weekly moving average, which is good on that one at least. So hopefully the correction is over and we start going slowly back up at least. And hopefully, I keep saying each time we have a correction that we don't get too over leveraged, and it looks like it would happen again. So it is par for the course, I guess. All right, so we covered the miners on Friday. We looked at them, see where they ended up at. So let's take a look at the miners here on the weekly, see how they compare to Bitcoin. And we'll take a look at the numbers here. So let's do this weekly here. We'll go and do ascending. And we can see that Bitcoin was actually down 14.45% on the day. Sphere 3D did a little bit better than that. It was only down 10.25, and then everybody else above this line did far worse. So we're way down here. Let's just quickly look at how far we are from the 52-week highs. So we're down 86% on HUT from the 52-week high. Soluna is down 80%. Marathon is down 84%. Riot is 84%. DigiHost is down 86%, Hive is 81%, Core Scientific is 83%, Bitfarms is down 84%, Moss is down 95%, DMG is down 81%, CleanSpark is down 80%, BitDigital is down 89%, Argo is down 79%, Iris Energy is down 82%, Bitcoin is down 69% from its all-time high here, 52 weeks basically, and Sphere 3D is down 94% from that. So we still obviously have a long ways to go before we reach those numbers, and it's going to take a while, probably at least another, I'm guessing at least another year or so, possibly before we get closer to the next halving event in Bitcoin. But as you can see here on the weekly, everybody was down for the most part. If we look at it here really quick, Bitcoin down 14, Iris was down 15, Argo was down 17, BitDigital was down 17.5 roughly, CleanSpark was down 23, DMG down 23, Moss was down 24 3/4. Bitfarms was down 25. Core Scientific was down 25.5 roughly. Hive was down almost 26. DigiHost was down 26.4. Riot was down 27%. Marathon was down 27.74. Soluna was down 30%, and HUT 8 was down 34%. So pretty bad week for the miners and for Bitcoin. And as we can see here, as typically Bitcoin falls X amount of percent, most of the miners are going to fall 1.5x of that, or a little bit north of that as well. Now looking at the 4-week chart here, we'll do that really quickly as well. We can see that on the 4-week chart, Bitcoin is down 12.3%, while DigiHost is down 16.5, Mawson is down 21.5, and Solana is down 24. So those guys did worse than Bitcoin on the 4 weeks. And then everybody else here did better than Bitcoin, with DMG being down only 9.89, Riot being down 0.96, Core Scientific being down 0.4, and the Marathon was up 1.46%, Bitfarms up 2.74, Argo up 4.48%, Sphere was up 6.46, Hive was up 9.43, BitDigital was up 12.23, CleanSpark up 16.29, sorry. Hive was up 17.96, and Iris was up 27.2 from 4 weeks ago. So had you bought 4 weeks ago, you'd still be up on them. Let's go to 8 weeks really quick. On the 8-week chart, we can see that Bitcoin is down. Actually, Bitcoin is up 8.35%. DigiHost is up 2.91. Soluna is down 17.94, almost 18%. Mawson is down 36.5. So they did worse than Bitcoin from the 8 weeks ago, and BitDigital was up 14.7. CleanSpark was up 17. Argo was up 28, almost 29. Sphere was up 29.5 roughly. Bitfarms is up 36. Iris is up 40. DMG is up 42. Core Scientific is up 65.5. Hive is up 68.1. Riot is up 70, almost 71. Hive is up 71. Marathon is up huge, 137%. So had you bought 8 weeks ago any of those, you would be doing pretty well still. And then let's look at 12 weeks really quick as well, and we'll get into Soluna here. So finally, on that one, Bitcoin is down 29.7%, and then these guys did worse. So Sphere was down 31, DigiHost down 40.7, Soluna down 59.5, Mawson down 65% roughly. And then Bitfarms is down only 22.6, Argo's down 19, CleanSpark's 16, DMG is down 14, Core is down 10, Iris is down 6, BitDigital is down 4, and then we have Hut 8, which is actually positive 0.43. Riot is up 16.75, Hive is up 25.47, and Marathon is up 49.77. So if you bought the bottom 4 here, you'd be up still, at least on the had you bought 12 weeks ago. That's why I really am a strong proponent of dollar cost averaging. I think it's the best way to go, especially with the miners. In a bear market, I think it's possibly the best way to go. Okay, so let's get into Soluna here. And let's go back to, where do I want to go? I want to go here. So with Soluna, it's been kind of tough. They provide a lot of great information here. We'll take a look at their numbers from July, which is their most recent numbers. So you can see here they provide a lot of metrics for their mining operations, a lot of breakdowns based on their facilities, which they have obviously named after catalyzers, Edith, Sophie, Marie. And I mean, they do provide a lot of information. The only thing that I'm missing on here is the number of miners that they have installed each month. That would help me greatly estimate, at least estimate more correctly, I would think, what the hash rate is on the miners on average on that. So that's the only thing that's really missing from this. Other than that, this is a lot of data here, which is fantastic. But I wish they would provide, obviously, the number of miners that they have here. So we'll get into all these numbers here. And the only thing I could find as far as the number of miners they have, if you guys have any information on them, as far as any purchases that they made that actually provide the number of miners, the hash rate, even if they don't provide the actual hash rate of the miners, but at least provide the total hash rate that they're going to be getting, we can figure that out as far as what each miner is going to be hashing. But this is from their Q2 report that they provided also just recently. So this is for their, as of June 30th, 2022. This is what we had purchased, received, or deployed the following miners. So miners deployed as of January 1st, 2022 was 13,240. Miners received was 9,684. And then miners received but not deployed was 2,311. So I'm going to be off by about 2,000 miners or so, which still isn't too bad. It's not going to be a huge difference. I was using this number here, 22,137, for the total number for the end of June. So that's going to, be only a couple terahashes on the miners, which isn't going to be too bad off. But let's get into the numbers that I have for them. And we'll kind of get into it here. So here's Soluna right there. So I spent, like I said, like 3 or 4 hours going over all the press releases, their quarterly results, everything else, to put all this stuff together in one sheet here for you guys. They did state that they want to get to 2.5 exahash by the end of this year, but I could not find any information as far as how many miners they purchased, when are those miners coming in. So it's kind of vague in that area. So right now we have them at 681 petahash, which is for the end of July. Future hash rate, like I said, is about 2.5 exahash. So I mean, I could add in here and we could figure out what their percentage of installed base is right now. But the number of installed right now is at 22,922. That includes the additional X amount of miners that were installed in July. We'll look at those here shortly. And they're averaging right now at about 30 terahash per miner. I hope this is incorrect. Let me just put it that way. If they are actually mining at 30 terahashes per miner on average, that is pretty bad. That's like one of the worst miners that we cover here as far as their hash rate average per miner, right now at least. Looking at the stock itself, shares outstanding is 22 million roughly. Stock price is $3.34. Market cap is 73 million right now. Institutions, we have about 15.69% of institutions are owning it. 37 of those are buying the stock. We had a high of $17.08, 52-week low of $2.55. And you can see here the 1 week, 4 week, 8 week, and 12 weeks are all in the red for the most part. So it has been obviously good for Soluna. Looking at their BTC production. So in January, and I'm only looking at their own mining BTC. They also have, I believe, the is it the L7 miners or the L3 miners that mine Litecoin and Dogecoin as well. I'm kind of adding that number in. I'll show you guys here in a minute, but I'm adding that down below just for the financials to work out the revenue that they're reporting for each month. Yeah. So in January, they reported 60.23 Bitcoins mined for their self-mining. They also do obviously hosting as well. They also sold a portion of their business that was like their first business that they had was some kind of instruments, MTI instruments, I think it was called. But they sold that off here recently within the last couple of months. So we're not counting that either. We're just looking at their own self-mining. So 60.23 in January, 63.32 in February. March was 65.63. April was 72.8. May was 81.06. Then they were down a little bit in June, 78.35. And then back up here in July, 88.24. So the growth, I'm really liking this, that it's consistent, that they're consistently growing, except for in June they had one down month. Other than that, they've been up pretty much every single month in growth, which is good. The other thing that we're looking at here is their BTC per petahash. So we started out January at about 1.165, and it's been going down here ever since then, which isn't obviously good. So that's a little concerning as well. But obviously, Bitcoin price has been going down. The hash rate has been going down as well a little bit. So it kind of makes sense. And if these miners are actually at 30 terahash per miner, I can see why it's not a great number here. Let's see here. What else do we have here that we want to go over in this? I think that is about it for now. They did report 7.812 million for their Q1. They reported 7.497 million for their Q2 in 2022. And then they reported 6.272 for the Q4 in December and 2,018,000 for Q3. So those are the numbers that we're using here for the last 3 quarters, which equals 21,581,000. And combined with this current quarter, we're looking at possibly 29 million in revenue. And then we'll also take a look at their costs to mine it a little bit here, and we'll look at all that stuff here in a minute. It's going to be a lot of details here, so I hope you guys can bear with me. All right, so the miners. This is how I calculated them. So they reported, like I said, when was it here? That they had 22,137. It should have been possibly like 20,000 instead of the 22,137, or at least 19,800 miners that I should have been using for the end of June. I was using the 22,137, but as you can see here, they reported in, where was it? 13,240 miners as of January 1st. I looked at the data back to what they had at the end of December, and they were at 311 petahash at that time. So if they had 1,324, 13,240 miners, they would need to have basically a speed of 23.5 terahash per miner, roughly, to get us to the 31 or 311 petahash that they reported. So like I said, these are not the best miners in the world. That's why I'm thinking maybe they're buying all these miners on spot markets. As other miners are selling them, they're kind of buying them up on the cheap and installing them and running them. Maybe it's because they have pretty good cost to mine, but we'll take a look at it here. So like I said, this is the only part that's concerning, and I'm hoping I'm wrong on this. So if you have anything, let me know, obviously, in the comments down below. All right, so then in January, they added, looks like 1,715 miners. I'm kind of guessing here, 31 terahash miners on average, depending on what they got in. In February, we got another load in of 1,940 miners at about 38.5 terahash. March, we got another 1,275 miners and this is where it kind of boggles my mind that they would have like the S9s, 13,300 terahash miners, 13.3, I think it would be 13.3 terahash miners, and that was obviously an increase of 12.55 petahash, and that's even high here. I have them at 1697. That should probably even be lower than that. So, like I said, these numbers might be a little bit off, but we try to get them to the numbers at the bottom for what they're actually making on it in revenue. In April, we got 1,865 miners at 36 terahash, and that gave us 67 petahash roughly. Then in May, we added in another 2,102, and these were at 42,500 or 42.5 terahash, and that got us to 89 petahash, which they reported an increase of. June stayed pretty flat, and then in July, I'm guessing here, I have no idea what miners they got. I put in 785 miners being installed, and that got us, miners are being 87 terahash, and that got us to 68, and that might need to be increased here a little bit, because I had it at 73, I think it was an increase on it. So we're off a little bit on these because I'm trying to figure the numbers out, and I'm guessing a little bit on it because there's just no good information I could find on it. Like I said, please, if you do have something on them, comment down below. I'd love to see it. Okay, so the numbers as far as revenues go, so they're looking at 1.9 million in July, 1.910 in January or June. May was 2.5 million. April was 3 million roughly. March was 2.7 million. February was 2.58 million. And January was roughly 2.4, almost 2.5 million or so, based on the information that we do have on them. And then I've been using the Litecoin Doge mining to add to those numbers to get them to what they are actually reporting in here. So you can see here revenue, prop mining, they have it, all the numbers here. So I've been using those numbers to try to get my numbers to match up as closely as possible with those. And I've been adding basically Litecoin Doge mining, what those profits could be possibly each month to get us to the numbers that they reported on it, based on the hash rate that they had reported on BTC mining. So those are all the numbers there. And then looking at it here, looking at the institutions, obviously, like stated before, 37 institutions, 2.3 million shares, roughly 15.69% owned. And let me see, do I have that right? Yep. 37, that's correct. There was no buy rating as far as strong buy or regular buy, hold, underperform or sell. That was 0, so I left that at 0. And then when we get into their financials, and I still haven't updated this yet, I just realized this. There's been just a lot of places where I have to plug in the information, and I haven't done this yet. So I'll have to do that. And that way we can get this number finished. Maybe we can do this really quickly here while I'm looking at it here. I think I have some of it already in here. At the end of Q2, Q2 was 608, 613. So we're at 613 on that one. So let's see here, 613. That changes things a little bit. Everything else should stay the same. Cost to mine might be a little bit off here, but we'll get into that in a minute here. So here's the thing, assets. Assets did increase a little bit to 4.6 million in Q2 compared to 2.8 for cash. Accounts receivable also increased to 688,000. Paid expenses about the same. Deposits on equipment went down a little bit to 10.6. So total current assets actually went down to 17.5 compared to 22. Total assets went up a little bit from 136 to 147 million. And liabilities, total current liabilities went down to 27 million compared to 32 million, which is good. Total liabilities went down as well to 41 million from 48, which is good. Shareholder equity was 106 million compared to 87, so that's an increase we want to see. And then here's the revenues. Revenues actually went down here from Q1 to Q2, so 7.4, roughly 7.5 from 7.8 on their self-mining. And hosting also went down to 1.1, 1.2 roughly from 1.5. And then this is where things get a little bit interesting here. So this I can delete that. So cost of cryptocurrency mining revenue, it was 7.7 million in Q1, 3.596 million in Q2. Not sure what they're including in here as far as the expenses, but if we look at it here, they were basically, if you look at all the cost of revenue here, it was 16 million in Q1, 18 million in Q2, and that includes impairments, depreciation, selling and general administration. That actually went down, which is good. Cost of data hosting went down a little bit, and depreciation, so they added depreciation in here. That's possibly why, especially in Q1, that went down. But cost of energy obviously went down in here as well. So I don't know if they're using electricity in there as well, or if they're including something else here in Q1. So going down here, we can see that they had a gross profit of basically 1.16%. If we just take the cost of revenue for the mining, which I think possibly might be, they broke it out here, cost of data hosting revenue. So that's separate. Self-mining was 7.8, cost of it was 7.7, so that was basically 1.16% profit on it. In Q2, that did increase to 52%, which is obviously much better. But looking at the overall gross profit here, they were at negative 6.7 million in Q1 and negative 9.4 million in Q2, which isn't good. Other expenses, interest expense went up a little bit. Loss on sale of fixed assets, that was obviously added to it as well. That brought that up. So total income loss before income tax expense or benefit was negative 14 million compared to negative 9. So obviously not a good path going here. Net loss came in at negative 6.5 million compared to 8.9 in Q1. So that was actually pretty good there. And that is basically because, let me see here, where was that? There we go. They had a net income from discontinued operations, so they sold part of their business, I believe. That obviously offset the losses a little bit here on it. And then if we look at the basic and diluted shares, negative 71 in Q1 and negative $1.11 in Q2, which isn't good, obviously. So going back here, let's see if we can pull some numbers here and hopefully we get these right. So hash rate, that's fine. BTC mined, okay. So 0.4958 in Q1 compared to Q2 was 0.436, so obviously a decrease there. So it's basically 495 BTC per exahash, which is pretty good. And then down to 436, which is obviously a decrease, which is not good. Cost to mine 1 BTC, let's see if we get this correct, if we use the right numbers. Cost of revenue divided by Bitcoin mined and cost of revenue, there we go, we got that right. So that is basically 85,000 to mine 1 Bitcoin, 78,000 for this one. Cost to mine 1 BTC minus depreciation, or just using their regular expense for mining, that came in at 40,000, and then this month it came in at 15,049, so that's obviously pretty good there. Then if we look at market, that has to be updated here, I'm guessing. Table D2, where did that go? That went to Soluna, that's right. Total current liabilities, that's not right. Where's that one at? Oh, that's down here. Total current liabilities, cash and cash equivalents, that's good. Okay, so that number is correct. And so that's fine, 73 million. Debt to equity, let's see if we have these set up correctly. Total liabilities, shareholder equity, Okay, so that's correct. So that's 0.5567, and we're down to 0.381. And current ratio is 0.68 for Q1, and Q4 is 0.64. Okay, so a lot of numbers there. Let's take a look at one final sheet that I have here on the miners comparison, and we'll look at it here. We added Soluna here today. So here's Soluna right now, and we're just looking at all of the results from the quarter. I think that's kind of, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a little bit of a red flag is the 23 million negative here. So if you take the current assets minus total current liabilities, so everything that they would have basically negative 23 million on that. So we're seeing obviously more and more companies getting to that red line, red mark, as they're being negative on that, which isn't good. But they do have also, if you look at total current assets, it's at 17.5 million. Total current liabilities is 27 million. Their current ratio is 0.64, which isn't good, meaning they don't have enough to cover all of their expenses right now. So they're going to have to raise funds, get loans or something like that, or hope Bitcoin goes up in price right now. So for that reason, it's a little bit more concerning for me. And given the fact that if they are actually mining at, on average 30 terahash per miner, that's also concerning as well. We got other miners here that are almost 100 terahash per miner on average. They're buying up these newer ones. And that's like why I said, I think they're buying up some of the miners that are going on the market, that are going for sale from some of the other miners possibly. And that's why we're not hearing a lot of these, or at least I haven't seen them, these reports of them buying, X amount of numbers of miners from Bitmain or whoever that are 100 terahash or something like that. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is right now. So based on these, all the information that we do have, if we're looking at 50% net income from gross revenue, we're looking at about $9.88 per share. PE of 75% net income from gross revenue, looking at $14.82 on the stock price, my estimate. But given that they're, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong on this, if it is around 30 terahash, that's bad. For that alone, I would drop them down to, like an 8 or something like that PE. So between $5.27 to $7.90, they really need to get the hash rate per miner on average better. That's going to give them better revenue, better gross margins and everything else if they do increase this. But yeah, let me know. It is what it is right now. Hopefully we can get this updated even more if I do find out more information on this miner here, Soluna, if they have actually better miners than what I'm seeing. But it is unfortunate right now. So I wouldn't be able to recommend this miner as a stock to buy, at least right now, unless I have a little bit more information that clarifies some of the questions that I have. Like I said before, the questions is the miners, which miners did they purchase? What's the average hash rate per miners on that? I'm not seeing any of that information. And then obviously the concern is with the debt. So those are the three things on it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. The spreadsheet is always available. I can't speak. The spreadsheet is always available to my Patreon members. You guys can get it there. Thank you to my patrons for their support. We'll see what happens this week. I think we have a couple more miners reporting their Q2 reports. So we'll go over those, and we'll see how things go with Bitcoin, obviously, Ethereum, see how it all shakes out. And that's it. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you have a great week ahead, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then.